Every month, we highlight what the Small Business Development Center at Illinois Wesleyan University is up to, and they've got another success story to highlight. Today, we meet Kendrique Coats of Coats Performance. He does sports-specific strength and conditioning training for middle and high school athletes. Kendrique joins us right now. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing all right. How are you doing today?
Good. Tell me about your business, Coats Performance.
Yes. Well, thank you for having me today. So, Coats Performance is a speed development sports performance company here in Bloomington, Illinois. So we specifically work with track and field athletes, but we've also worked with other sports athletes, for example, basketball, baseball, and football. So the primary focus is helping young middle school, high school athletes become faster athletes. So they come to Coats Performance, and we give them basically a roadmap of what it looks like, from when they come into to us, and then what it looks like, a year from now or 2 months from now.
I take it you were a track athlete and felt there was a lacking in this area?
I was. I was a track athlete in Pontiac, Illinois, so it's not too far from here. And, I felt like track is one of those sports that is, in my words, I would say, it's not necessarily one of those glamour sports. So what I mean by that is basketball and football tend to be the primarily dominant sports within high school. And what Coats Performance is trying to do is trying to bring track and field back to the map, because it's one of those sports that any athlete that joins track and field, they will have a direct impact to any other sport that they play. So that's our goal, is to try to put track and field on the map to compete with, say, a football and basketball, and to also educate athletes of the importance of being able to run and being able to sprint within their specific sport.
You've been doing this for 5 years, Coats Performance, but you only recently moved back here into the area about a year ago. Is that when you contacted the Small Business Development Center?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What were you looking for from them?
So one of the main things is and some of my friends and family will tell you, is I have a very active mind. So with an active mind comes a lot of ideas. And so I contacted the SBDC for that sole purpose of getting the ideas on paper to basically give a little bit more of a story or a roadmap of what 3 months from now looks like, 6 months, and 12 months. So a lot of times I get all these ideas in my head, but it's, hey, how do we get this on paper to actually have a clear-cut vision of where these ideas are going to go and what they're going to look like?
Kendrique Coats is our guest in our SBDC segment, the Small Business Development Center at Illinois Wesleyan University. Their website is mcleancosbdc.org. How about you? You've got a website. How can people find out more about Coats Performance?
So people can find me at coatsperformance.com. That's COATS performance.com, then as well as social media. So a lot of the athletes like to go on social media, put a lot of before and after videos, put some music to the videos. Just that's what the kids like nowadays. So any social media outlet, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter are the main the main social media pages that we are on. So again, that's coatsperformance.com for the website, or any social media outlet you can find Coats Performance.
What's the response been?
Response is so one of the big things. So we are now currently working in the Flying Dragons facility, which, if people aren't aware of the Flying Dragons, they're a pole vaulting facility here in Bloomington, Illinois, on West College Avenue. So the response from there, because I do a lot of work with the athletes there, and they are now starting to see the importance of speed. Again, we're dealing with pole vaulters, and if you think of pole vaulting, for the majority of their event, they're running down a runway. And so I talked with Mike there at the den, and he's like, this is important. If athletes want to jump higher, and if they want to compete with the best, they have to be able to sprint fast. So the response from Mike and his team out there, they see the difference with speed development and the importance it plays within sports.
Kendrique Coats from Coats Performance, this week's Small Business Development Center business, and we highlight one every month. We're going to come back and talk with Karen Bissoni, the director of the SBDC, to find out her business tip of the month and also about their upcoming events. This is the Midday Show on WJBC. AM 1230 WJBC, back on the midday show with Mark Strauss in our Small Business Development Center at Illinois Wesleyan University segment. We heard from Kendrique Coats of Coats Performance. Now it's time to bring in the director, Karen Bassoni, and Assistant Director Angela Coopersmith to talk about their business tip of the month and upcoming events. How are you?
I'm doing well, Mark. Thank you, and you as well, I am assuming. Gosh, it's Thanksgiving week.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah, very excited about that.
Well, tell me a little bit about, we met Kendrique, talked about his business, and every month you give us a small business tip of the month.
Yeah.
What are your words of wisdom this month?
Great, thank you. I want to talk a little bit about the importance of understanding small business tax law. As a small business owner, people may pay an accountant or maybe another professional advisor to handle their taxes. However, understanding the various tax choices is very important for running a business. For example, tax planning, the process that evaluates options to determine when, whether, and how to conduct business and personal transactions. Is very important for minimal taxes. As an individual taxpayer and as a business owner, a person generally can complete a taxable transaction through different methods, but choosing whichever result is the lowest legal tax and liability can be tricky. Also, forming your business, whether you form as a sole proprietor, or a partnership or an LLC, which is a limited liability company, or a corporation. There are significant income tax consequences that flow from each of those. And so understanding that's very important. Defining your trade or business to deduct business expenses, you must be engaged in a trade or a business.
How much, when you deal with somebody who comes to you about launching a new business, how much of their apprehension, because there's a great deal of anxiety in starting a new business, has to do specifically with the tax part of the equation?
At first, very little, because we don't get into that discussion, and that's usually not something right up front someone talks about. We have a list of things we work through that we actually prefer a client come to us already with those things figured out, like the name of their business, how they want to structure their business, whether it's sole proprietor, LLC, et cetera, obtaining an EIN number, an employee identification number, also registering their business, either depending upon how they have structured their business, either through the county or the state. But we oftentimes don't have people there yet. And so we work through that process first and the concept that they want to further develop to move forward with business startup if it is a pre-venture. Some of our half our clients are existing small business, and some of them have come to us with various tax questions. We get them connected to CPAs that have partnered with the SBDC. For the SBDC to provide tax law advice is not the business we're in.
Well, I guess what I was going at was, if I were going to start a business, one of the first things, even before contacting you, that would pop into my head is, gee, do I really want to do this? Because there are so many things I don't know, which is where you guys come into play. And the tax part of it would probably be one of those foremost things in my mind.
It's just, it's not one that surfaces right at the beginning. But as we get into...
I guess they've gotten over that hump by the time they contact you.
And I think through that planning process, Mark, then they start realizing, okay, here's a bigger picture of what it's going to take to get this business started and what my obligations financially are going to be. And once we get to that point, then there are very straightforward discussions and resources that we provide them or suggest to them to tap. And but we have seminars that we offer in this area we found to be very helpful to the public and to our existing clients. We had 3 different tax seminars first quarter in 2019. We actually had one up in Lexington. Had 11 people there. It was really fascinating. We were very excited about that. And then the other two we had in Bloomington Normal, and they were all three very well attended. We had a CPA firm, Insight CPAs, actually provide the education to the attendees on tax law and different things people need to be aware of from a small business perspective. It's very, very helpful. So that's what we're planning to do. 2020 in first quarter is we are in the process of organizing dates for tax law updates and information.
Okay, let's bring in Angela Coopersmith, the Assistant Director of the SBDC, to talk about some of your upcoming events. Angela, how are you?
I'm well, Mark. How are you?
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Tomorrow.
What do you got?
All right, we've got a few seminars coming up. But before I get into that, we want to remind everyone that this Saturday is Shop Small Business Saturday here in McLean County and across the nation. So make sure you check out our website. We have a list of almost 90 participating businesses, and many of them have special promotions for Shop Small Saturday. And our sponsors for that event are Flanagan State Bank, First Farmers State Bank, and PNC Bank. And as far as seminars go, our next one is How to Start a Small Business in Illinois on Wednesday, December 4th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. That one is going to be sponsored by Flanagan State Bank, and it's being held at State Farm Hall on Illinois Wesleyan's campus. We're in room 101. And if you want to register for that event or learn more, you can check it out on the events page of our website, which is mcleancosbdc.org.
All right. Karen, Angela, Kendrick, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
And
we appreciate it.
Every year, more and more small businesses are being helped by the SBDC at Illinois Wesleyan University. Again, their website, mcleancosbdc.org. If you have any ideas that you might want to start a small business, or maybe you've started and you're running into some things that you weren't anticipating or you're having trouble finding assistance with, they will know which direction to point you in. This is the Midday Show on WJBC.